Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. Today we're discussing the Zenith El Primero Striking 10th Limited Edition of 1,969 pieces. You can see this 2011 model year limited edition and purchase it on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right-hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full sales listing for this watch, with additional accessories included in the sale, high-resolution images for your desktop, and naturally complete pricing details for this Zenith El Primero Striking 10th Limited Edition. Zenith picked itself up from the controversial 2000s in the 2010 and 2011 model years. Getting firmly in touch with their aesthetic heritage, the company also re-emphasized watchmaking over pure image, and the fruits, such as this striking 10th limited edition, proved that Zenith did its homework. Now, the watch fits well. 42 millimeters is far more accessible than the immense metallic carapaces of the 2000s. 42 across the case, not including crown or chronograph pushers. The watch is also reasonably slim, 13 millimeters thick, but do note the box section sapphire with its sloped lip. Vis-a-vis your sleeve, this watch wears even thinner than 13 millimeters, a great dress companion. It's also a suitable sports watch, as you can see on a bracelet. Extremity to extremity, that is, end link to end link. The watch is a substantial 56 millimeters across the wrist, but should you wish to put it on a strap, vintage style, then the actual lug-to-lug measurement of this watch is 50 millimeters, which is compatible with almost all male wrists. I would say you could wear the watch as is on a wrist as small as 14.5 centimeters in circumference. It is a very impressive bracelet, I have to say. First, consider that all of the individual screws correspond to a single link, so you can remove every single link for precise sizing. You'll also note that each individual link features a little bit of camber or arc to it, such that in aggregate they do loop around the wrist and they interlock beautifully, so there's minimal daylight showing between the links. They're that close coupled. It's a sort of mechanical synergy that looks beautiful, but also ensures that the bracelet looks all of a piece and feels just as solid. Now, you'll note on the underside that there are plenty of slots for aeration of the wrist, so this one allows your wrist to breathe on a hot day. It's a true sports watch bracelet in substance and style. The clasp is double deployant twin trigger, so this type of clasp, beautifully low in profile, is less prone to deformities and scratches while desk diving, and of course, who among us does not engage in such? Also wonderfully secure thanks to the twin triggers. The double fold makes it easier to close around a smaller wrist without pinching. Now, the case itself is very much in the spirit of the late 60s and the first El Primeros, but larger and better finished. You can see it's all of high polish along its side. The lug hoods themselves are satin finished. There's a nice contrast of satin and polish on the individual links of the bracelet, and there's a small bevel that tapers and runs the length of the watch, visually uniting the lugs with the center case. As I mentioned, it does feature a box section sapphire. These are always more expensive and significantly more expensive than a simple flat sapphire, so money was spent here. It also creates a beautiful vintage aesthetic with a little bit of off-axis distortion like a circa 1969 plexiglass, but there's nothing vintage about the function of the watch. Before I jump into the striking 10th, a quick reminder that this tritone design is redolent of the first three El Primero references, specifically the A386, but the A386 couldn't do this. Now, the moniker Striking 10th makes more sense. Over the course of the entirety of the dial, each arc of 6 seconds represents 1 second of elapsed chronograph time, which means that as you look at the dial, you can read the incremental portions of the second, the partial second being easier to read over a larger span than when the chronograph, featuring a 10 beat per second rate, packed each individual step of the second, all 10 of them, into the space of 1 second on the dial. So you could see 6 seconds, or rather 6 seconds I should say, takes you to the index at 7 o'clock. So 1, 2, 3, exactly like so, with the individual increments easier to read by being spread over a larger span of the dial. Now, of course, you do lose the hours counter as a result of this semi-foudroyant function. Easier to read, yes, but over smaller intervals. Now, you'll also note that the dial has a little bit of dish to it, as the center section is countersunk and the outer scale is slightly canted at a slight bowl angle. There is a wonderful variation of color and texture and plane, and the watch is luminescent such that you can read it easily at night. A nice balanced dial with the date window featuring a metallic aperture gracing the dial at 6 to anchor all of the complication and the features of the dial itself. On the case back, you get to see the in-house Zenith El Primero, caliber 4052, as ever, high beat, 10 beats per second, 36,000 vibrations per hour. It is a traditional column wheel chronograph, and you can see the column wheel amidst the mass of levers. Let me quickly show you how that works and interacts with the levers. One of the reasons we love the column wheel is because it feels so crisp in the hand. You hear it, you feel it, but here, it's complemented by the 100-tooth, fully synthetic, iridescent purple silicon striking 10th wheel that drives the complication. This is a 33-jewel movement. You can see all the traditions of Zenith finishing, from the quirky use of perlage engine turning on bridges, to the distinction between screws used for adjustment, which are heat-oxidized blue, and polished screws, which are used for physical assembly of components. Automatic winding with a 52-hour power reserve when the chronograph is not running. It also features a quick set for the date, and with 100-meter water resistance, it also offers far more durability than a vintage El Primero, this watch being suitable aesthetically and technically for both dress and sports occasions, and in 42 millimeters, perhaps the perfect size for a sporty, but not overtly sporty, modern complication. And again, you only know the exuberant energy that lies just beneath this dial when the complication is engaged. You can see and you can own this extraordinary Zenith El Primero Limited Edition on our website.